All right, so welcome. We're going to do the shir tonight in Schos of a Refuah Shalema for my Shver. Yishai Lazar ben Roiza. You should have a Refuah Bekarov. And we are on page 68, 69 of the chapter called Kriyal Talmud in Chovas Hatalmidim. And the theme that we've been covering over the last few weeks has been focused around the absolute shocking relativity of common and current times to what the Pia Zetzner has shared from way back when. And since we are in a rather new age of Chinuch Chabanim and Chinuch Chabanos in America and really throughout the world, due to all of the changes the world has had to offer over the last 20 years, we spend time talking about the Kedusha of a child who is struggling, a Kedusha of a child who is off the derech, and the Kedusha of a child who can't work within the system that they're in. And as I've mentioned before, and I think everyone here knows this, I'm not a mechanech. What I am, though, is someone who's been through the system and who could have most likely benefited from certain things that would have been different, at no fault of any specific Rebbe or teacher, simply the fact that what I needed from a neshama dika standpoint wasn't something in typical curriculum. And the beauty of what the Pia Zetzner is sharing here is that the reach of a teacher into the neshama and progress of a child has to be done in a way that almost sounds very 2025. And as far back as I go, in the 90s, being raised in the regular school systems and the yeshiva school systems, and then in some of the modern Orthodox school systems, and you go back even farther, there was a level of toughness that was implemented in education, a rigidness, a yira, more than ahava feeling. And today the world needs ahava. And children need ahava, and children need space. We had the opportunity to have and just the total amazing Reb Dov Ber Cohen from Eish Torah this Motzei Shabbos. Avodas Aliv was able to host him, and the insights he was able to share on Chinuch and how he is mechanech his children. And he made one point that made many points that I wanted to share with the Olam, but I'll share a couple before we jump in to the rest of this chapter and jump into Mirza Hashem to the next chapter. Dov Ber Cohen said that he loves benching. Benching to him is a way to achieve presence every single day with what he is doing, l'kavod the Eibishter, to be able to engage in an Asher Yotzer appropriately, to be able to engage in a benching, to be able to engage in a bracha rishayna and a bracha achrayna, to be able to engage in brachas and davening, to be able to show up fully for that experience where you can turn the material and physical into something spiritual, is one of the biggest gifts he feels that he gets to partake in as a yid. And so one of the things he said is that the minute that you instruct a child to do something, it becomes a chore. And if we can avoid chores, we have a better chance of reaching the inner part of that child. So he gave the example of, I don't tell my children to bench. I tell my children, I'm benching. If anyone wants to join me, please come join me. So there's a very nuanced switch. He gave other examples, but the idea of being able to offer up what is considered appropriate without making it I have to answer a yes or a no, is a huge difference maker in the reaction and education and the orientation that a child of his or a student may have with the curriculum that we're offering. He said a couple other points that I want to bring up regarding being present with our children and present in general. I asked.
Avishai, can I ask a quick question?
You can ask a million questions, please. I would love
it. I hope not a million questions.
Well, knowing you, go ahead.
You're touching on something that definitely resonates and we've spoken about before. But I never really asked this before. Why is it that the yeshiva system, why is it that the system in general is designed to be so rigid when, it's a growing number of people that are just not relegated to that kind of upbringing. What like it almost seems like, they say the sign of insanity is you keep trying to do the same thing and expecting different results. At what point is what point is there going to be a switch? I know that there's all these movements now, but it's not haven't made its way really to the yeshiva system.
So I actually have a contrarian view on what you're saying compared to most in maybe the Panemius Welt. And again, my opinion matters zero, but this is just the way I see it. I actually think the system for many is set up really well. I think for many Bachrim and many, Bas Torah, it's really good. They do a really good job. And I think that what you're saying, though, has got complete truth to it, that there is a subset. I don't know how big or small. I don't have enough education. I know Reb Weinberger feels it's way too big. And I know that even, again, Revelia Brudny, who I've quoted on this before, who said this to me and Rabbi Fine, that it's way too big. That the post-Holocaust educational system that exists, which is what we're still kind of following, for many, it doesn't resonate. And there needs to be more available to them. But remember, there are many Bachrim and Bas Torah that are in quote unquote, not rigid, I wouldn't say. I think even those systems have become softer in and around them, but that do quite well and turn into really amazing people in the different yeshivas. But Baruch Hashem, in today's day and age, there's so many options. I mean, look at Chicago alone, right? So there's so many different types of yeshivas. Now, are there the types of yeshivas that an Ariel Ganicki and Avishai Lev may have needed? Maybe not, maybe not 100%. I mean, some have some of what we need in others. Is there the place for the guy that's mamish got a sensitive neshama but can't sit and learn a Gemara but could learn Panemius HaTorah? Not really. Is there a guy who can,
right.
So like when I went to Eretz Yisrael, I went to TJ, and TJ's second Seder was all of that, right? I had for the first time in my life, I could learn Navi, I could learn Panemius HaTorah, I could learn Musar, I could learn Halacha, and I jumped into what I liked, and it helped because I finally had an avenue. So, why doesn't that exist? A, it's coming. B, it does exist in some of the girls' schools. It does exist in some of the modern Orthodox day schools. But, the yeshivas are not maybe going to be the first. But, there's so many guys who do well in the system, except there's too many that don't. So I hope that answers kind of what you're asking. But
right, I hear. I think what you're saying is that you actually made a comment like this is like the post-Holocaust education system, which is a very interesting way to think about it. Like
that's Revelia's words. Yeah.
Right, like it's almost designed for the trauma of worst traumas of stuff that we honestly, like I was talking earlier today, like we just can't comprehend what they went through. They created this super rigid system that makes everyone fit in a very tight box so that they just don't lose anyone almost. Maybe that's what it is. And then it just over time, okay, we're getting, we're starting to get back to like just being not survivors, but wanting to live, wanting to thrive.
Yeah. And look,
okay.
I'm pretty involved in Ari Crown. I'm pretty involved in Skokie Yeshiva, right? Two examples of schools that have their own mahalchim, right? But I can tell you that when you're involved in the schools, I can tell you two things that are very evident. They don't charge us tuition because they don't need the money and they're trying to build a racket. It's expensive to run schools. That's number one.
Right.
That everyone thinks like $20,000. What do you need? It's expensive to do, especially today, where to your point, there's so many resources now that they need in order to cater to this generation of children. Number two, they do in most cases the absolute best that they can, and they can't possibly address what every child needs. Now, there's enough children in a given city that should and could benefit from alternative programming, and they're popping up. They are popping up.
Right.
Okay, and then the last thing is, even if they are available, Ariel, there are many people who don't want to, they don't want to be the ones that have to send their kids to the alternative school. So even if it's available, there's the whole, who's looking. Okay. So the other thing that Reb Dovber shared that I wanted to share with you guys, which was the idea of presence and what he had said. And so I asked him, and I had a few minutes with him by myself, and I said, Reb Dovber, how often of the day are you present? And he said, 100%. I'm like, 100%. You're present 100% of the day. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like very matter of fact. I'm like, how? How are you present the whole day? He's like, Avishai, I left to America with 287 shekel in my account. I made a decision a long time ago that I was going to live by the first chapter of Mesilas Yesharim, and I read the first chapter of Mesilas Yesharim 100 times until I could live by it. But this is all a simulation. This is all practice before the main event. And so nothing matters. Not in a negative or, empty or, shallow way, but nothing here really matters except doing mitzvos and being a good father and being a good husband and being a good teacher in my world. He's like, I'm not stuck in the rat race of business. I never had money. I will never have money, but I have joy and I'm free because nothing. And he's like, even if I did have a business, I'd be the same way because, okay, give me the business, don't give me the business. Like, this is all not important. It's like, going to any event and they're only there for a limited time and you're not going to take everything personal. You're going to a concert, you're going to the gym, you're going to run a marathon. All right, you may not finish first, you're competitive, but then you go home, you shower, and you get back to regular life. Like, you don't think about it. He's like, well, I have that same experience in the world. Like, that's how I experience the world. So, of course, I can be present because I have nothing weighing me down. So I said to him the following. I said, how is it that guys that are working on themselves and have, integrated Shar B'tachon type thinking into their lives with consistency, like years and years of work, and yet when something goes wrong, they really struggle to lean into that. There are moments where they do a good job, but when the punches keep coming, you start to feel like you're drowning, your body, your chest, all of it. He's like, well, it's a pretty unknown answer to this, but it's the truth. I said, okay, well, tell me. He's like, we think that the Chovas HaLevavos teaching can help our body response. And it can't. You do know Chovas HaLevavos. You're practicing it. You're a chassid of Bilvavi Mishkan Avnei. You're a chassid. He was talking to me, but all of us. You guys are chassid. You guys are learning. You guys are growing. And you have that right. Your head is okay. But you're talking about your body, your chest, and I'm like, I can't believe it. He's like, you've got to give the body what it needs. So there's two avodas of being a chassid who's able to live with a serenity that they're chasing. Number one, the neshama dika effort that we have to make in order to understand the concepts to surrender to the Eibishter and live a surrendered life. Number two is the breathing, the music, the working out, the taking care of the guf, to be able to release what it is, which is held up traumas. And we have a therapist, the Samal could probably talk about this, but a lot of housing in the body that can come out in a healthy way when you're feeling that restriction or you're feeling that pressure, or you're feeling that, those weights on you. And it was a beautiful way to talk about it. I never thought about it that way because he's like, what ends up happening is you end up putting more pressure on yourself because you're like, I'm not a real Chovas HaLevavos guy. If I was a real Chovas HaLevavos guy, I wouldn't be feeling this. He's like, no. He's like, you're good on the Chovas HaLevavos stuff. I mean, obviously we all have work, but you really know it. You've integrated it. But your body doesn't know that yet because it's housing a different response system that you need to cater to. So it's got nothing to do with this Chabura, but I had to share that because it was such a concept. Nissan, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that thought.
It's interesting. It brings to mind. Rav Nachman says that a person should have rachmanis on their guf, and what is rachmanis on the guf is to take.
You cut out. We lost you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you right now. Yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Rav Nachman says that the person should have rachmanis on their guf, and the way that he describes rachmanis on is.
We lost you again. Sorry.
Bring it back to the guf. Okay.
You'll jump in when you get reception. Tell us the Rav Nachman said, but yeah, we're losing you. Okay. So, guys, we're going to jump back into Chovas Hatalmidim. So we're at page 69. Again, I sent a link to Ariel. Ariel can put it in the chat if anybody wants. But I'll keep reading. If anyone has the book and they want to read, please feel free. Okay, Jewish youth, you carry a tremendous responsibility far greater than you realize. It is you who are going to establish the future generations of Klal Yisrael, the future tzaddikim. Torah giants and community leaders are going to come from you. The eventual revelation of Hashem Shekhinah and the coming of Mashiach lies in your hands as well. Do you really want to cause Klal Yisrael to continue to waste away in Gullus without Nevi'im, without leaders? Or do you think it's fitting that while we are in Gullus, we should continue to deteriorate? down to the very depths, to the point that your generation will chas v'shalom not even have gedolim. That your tzaddikim and tzaddikim who will be able to stop this deterioration and reveal the sanctity of Hashem in this world. Will Hashem suffer all of this in silence? You might be tempted to rely on your friends and say, let the future gedolim flourish from other bachrim. I want to live an easy life. But the problem is that your friends might be saying the same thing about you. While you're relying on them, they might be relying on you. And then what kind of future will Torah have? What kind of future will Klal Yisrael, the holy nation, have? And what will happen to Hashem Shechina in our world? To all Jewish youth who learn Torah and seek Hashem, I say, it is incumbent on each one of you to discover the sacred Jewish neshama that lies within you, and to become a pillar of strength, a person whom Klal Yisrael can rely upon. None of you are free to absolve yourself of this responsibility. So much of what the Pia Zetzner has shared up until this point has been neshamadik. Going back to Ariel's point, why isn't that we work on figuring out how to feed the neshama, or correlate the Gemara and the Halacha and the Chumash and the Nigla into the most nister part of us, which everyone agrees to, litvak or chased, that exists within us, which is this cheluk elokah mimal mamish. Why isn't that we get to talk that way from a young age? Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere, but how does that connect to me? How does the words of the Gemara, how does halacha, learning how to be a yid, and really connecting to the fact that the rules matter as far as being able to accomplish our mission on this world, because the pleasure we're going to feel at a later time when we go up to Olam Haba, and we have Mashiach, Amir Hashem, that we're in a place where we can connect so deeply and pleasurably, which we may get today because we get pieces of that. We get into that mode of freedom and serenity and connection to Hashem and Devekos. Why isn't that we can't correlate the two with consistency? That one is not even really so much talked about, but the other one is. And everything the Pia Zetzner has been teaching, as far as giving mechanchim an opportunity to really set themselves apart, it's always been about reaching the neshama of the child. It hasn't been about, learning and mesechtas and memorization. And again, I'm not a mechanech and I vouch for the system. I'm just wondering, what about the Bachrim who are more neshamadik? And Rav Meyer talks about the Leah neshamas and the Rachel neshamas. There's two different neshamas, one who are more critical, one who are more thinkers, one who need intellectual stimulation. And then there are the emotional ones, the ones who need to feed their the emotional intelligence type student, the student who end up usually writing the biggest check to the yeshivas later on. It's usually the C students who end up controlling the world, and it usually ends up the kids who are a little rebellious who end up being the biggest gevirim. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that they found sipuk in things that weren't exactly the way they were taught and end up being very good contributors to society. So I just want us to think about the fact that when we're working on our Avodah, we always have to bring Hashem into the picture. Bavavi Mishkanevna, which is the other Chabura, it teaches us the fact that we have to have Hashem on our mind every minute of the day. Everything that we're doing has to be in interaction with Hashem, because Ein Oid Milvado, it's all Hashem, it's all an extension of Hashem. He's saying that when we apply this to students or as parents, as mechanchim, how many times are we reminding our kids, not only to say the bracha, but how lucky you are to say a bracha, and how lucky you are to have such a healthy, warm family and a warm home. What kind of panemius are we talking about at the Shabbos table? I bought I bought the Tanya in this picture English book. It's been a game changer for my Friday night meals. Because we're going to, I want to teach my kids Chassidus. I want them to understand the concept of Chassidus. And if you ask my kids, what do we talk about at the Shabbos table? They're gonna tell you some version of this following line: how Hashem integrates into everything we do. Right? And so how are we bringing that out? And that's one thing that I took from the first part of this is he mamish brings out the fact that he doesn't say this, but of course all the learning is good, but if it's not anchored in sipuk, if it's not anchored in devekos, then it's vanity. It just ends up being an intellectual exercise. I said to a guy who's a big learner, but he's not a big davener, right? And I showed him a line where it basically said, all of our learning is to get closer to the Eibishter. You have to wonder sometimes whether or not they're learning from the intellectual or you're learning to get closer to the Eibishter. And his response to me was, who says it's to get closer to the Eibishter? So again, there's this school of thought that learning is for learning and becoming an intellect and learning Torah, and the Eibishter is for the Eibishter. And that is the part that, I feel like the guys in this Chabura and some of the other Avodah Salev things, I gotta have both. I can't have one without the other. I've tried one without the other, and it ends up being a miserable experience. Okay, let's go to, if anyone wants to jump in and comment, please, Ariel, go for it.
Yeah, no, I just like on what you're saying is, when you're kind of, going back to my question, expounding on what you just said just now as well, is do younger kids, I don't know, do they have the ability to like comprehend some of the stuff? Like I don't. I'm just thinking back to myself, like when I was 6, 7 years old, 10 years old,
Six,
even
seven,
15,
6, 7. Go ahead.
6, 7.
Yeah.
6, 7, yeah, exactly.
Go
That
ahead.
was completely unintentional.
Go ahead. Rafi, if you don't get what that is, I can tell you later. Go ahead.
No one gets what it is.
Yeah, I don't get
that's
that.
the point.
You can tell me later.
Okay.
Yeah. Abhishek doesn't get what it is.
But I'm good with numbers.
So that's
So I hear.
numbers.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm saying like meaning would I don't know, I'm thinking back to myself, like when I was younger, when I was 5 or 6 years old, there you go. Would I have understood some of these things and would have meaning, to say Hashem is there, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere, yeah, that I understand, but would I have understood the concept of like that, like there's Hashem in a chair and there's Hashem in a fingernail and there's that like.
Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. My Roni, who is in your son's class, and for whatever reason have not found friendship yet, because he makes it clear to me that they're not friends. He'll ask me, did Hashem make this or did Tati make this? Because I'll talk about things as far as like, hey, do you know who made that leaf with leaf piles? He's like, did you make it? I said, no. Where's the tree come from? He's like, the ground. I said, okay, and who made the earth? Who made the whole thing? And he's like, I don't know. And I'll be like, Hashem, right? Hashem created. So like, it's that juvenile education of just Hashem is in everything. Your toy. When he gets toys, it's like, where this toy came from? This Hashem created this. He's like, Hashem made this toy. I said, well, kind of everything that's in the toy, right? And then I lose him, of course, at times, but it's the constant behavior of, are you making a bracha thing? Like my kids, they'll run through the bracha, or they'll be like. Dov Bear said the same thing. I don't want to walk. I don't want to eat bread because I don't want to bench. I'll be like, guys, you get to bench. You get to bench.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, each on its own level, but it's that talk. It's that frequency of talk, which you don't hear. You're not going to hear it in school. You're going to hear it in school. This is what we have to get done. But at home, it's like, biggest example. Here's the biggest example. When my son Gabi was sitting, I'm going to read the note that Nissan will put in here. When my son Gabi was young, he had missed either a game or didn't make a shot, or there was some issue where we missed something, a flight, I don't remember, but he had heard me enough, which again, it's my own therapy because my natural state is not to be like Gamzu Latova. My natural state is to lose my mind. But he heard me enough say Gamzu Latova, and something happened to him. He's like, Gamzu Latova, Tati, right? Like, it's fine. And I said, exactly. Now I didn't do it enough, meaning they're well on their way in their teens, and yes, they have, thank God, I think a very warm connection to Hashem in a way. But ultimately, it became just a thing of like, there's nothing to get mad about. Like if Rav Dov Bear's energy is what it is really at home, then his kids are kind of like whatever. Like this is all vanity. Like, who gets mad? Like, there's no point. Like, why would you get mad? This is all, we're on the stop on the bus right now. Like, who gets mad? This isn't home. So I'll read Nasanel's note here, and then Chabad has been doing this pretty effectively. Kids have an entirely different language, 1,000%. 1,000%. Chabad does this beautifully, which is one of the reasons why I learned Tanya with my children, because, it's just, every that's what you should buy, Ariel. The English picture Tanya is so worth buying because it takes all of Hasidus and makes it into lowercase terms. Okay,
right.
Let's go ahead and jump in for a few minutes. We'll do chapter 2 a little bit and then we'll stop for the night. So Histaglis Hatalmid, the first steps towards change, the student's first steps towards change. Your concerns are our concerns. The load you carry, which may at times seem too heavy to bear, we carry together with you. Guys, you would think about 1940s education, it would be patching with a ruler. Learn, study. This is how Piazetzer talks. Your concerns are our concerns. They're too heavy to bear. We want to carry them with you. We want to hold you. We want to coddle you. We want to be there for you. This is the basic message that we want to communicate in the work. If you will only listen, And if you will only want, you will develop into a great personality. Your wellsprings of Torah will spread out, and your light will shine out towards the right and to the left in dimensions that neither you nor your forebears ever imagined possible. The sky's the limit. The sky's the limit, my child. The sky's the limit, my Talmud. Don't be depressed, young Jewish man. Don't let the responsibility that you carry overwhelm you. Depression is a terrible midah that wreaks havoc on both your mind and your heart, and even causes you to become careless. Just do this. Strengthen yourself and arise with alacrity in the morning and contemplate the main points of all that we have said up until now. Think about the responsibility you have and be concerned about it. Take it seriously. But don't let yourself become depressed. There's a big difference between the two. Beautiful. Someone who has suddenly lost his fortune feels depressed and hopeless. Someone who knows that there is a treasure buried deep in the ground and wants to find it, concerned about the hard work that awaits him, but he takes it seriously. And the more seriously he takes his job, the better he works, for he is happy to continue digging until he finds the treasure. Think about the tremendous responsibility that you have and to be concerned about it. With this concern in mind, begin saying Birkas HaTorah. And as you daven to Hashem, beg him from the depths of your heart, please, Hashem, our God, let the words of your Torah be sweet in our mouths. Hashem, your Torah really is so pleasant and sweet. Please help me and allow me to be able to feel how pleasurably sweet it is. He's bited us to the nth degree. How often are we taking the time in our day to teach our children that they don't have to wait until davening to talk to Hashem? That if they're having a good day or a bad day or a day that they can't even believe, it's just been so overwhelming, how often do they stop and look up and say, Hashem, God, help me, make it easier? Because he will. It happens every time. You say, Visha, it happens every time. I didn't say I get everything I want. I said there's some sort of response when I'm speaking to Hashem on regular, mundane, daily things, there's some sort of repositioning that occurs when you talk to Hashem with consistency. When you decide to check in and check out with Hashem, because whatever, things are good or things are bad, and you don't want the good to end, you don't want the bad, you want the bad to stop, that's different. But if you consistently build a relationship and a rapport with Hashem and talk to him, things will change. They always, always will change if you're consistent and show up. He almost has to respond to us. Master of the world, and let us, your children, know your name and learn Torah for its own sake, Lishma. Master of the word, please have mercy on me and allow me the privilege of elevating myself, that which a Jewish child is worthy, to learn your Torah for its own sake and for your name. That is the greatest level and the greatest happiness one can attain, whether in this world or the world to come. Now tell this to a high school kid who's a great kid, having a good time, partying and whatever. I'm not even talking about a kid who's on drugs. I'm just saying a regular boy who wants to experience girls and hang out and smoke a vape and do all these things. I mean, you're not able to talk this way. But again, if we inculcate it early, and if we work on our children early, it will stay. You see so many kids that end up not kids going off the derech. I'm talking about kids who are just regular, they're adolescent, they do adolescent things. Then they go to Eretz Yisrael, they go to base measures, they go to yeshiva, or they go to seminary, and they come back. And all their homegrown baking is all of a sudden pollinated in a healthy way. So again, it all starts at home. So if the home isn't healthy, then all bets are off. But if the home is healthy and you're in a situation where you've created this safe, fun, light, no pressure atmosphere, the children have this unique ability to all of a sudden utilize all of that's been resourced in their subconscious over the years and all of a sudden bake it into this beautiful person that they become. And we see this, Baruch Hashem, all over Chicago. People who were like looking at them in high school, they're having a good time, and they come back and they're serious balabatim and they're serious bas Torah, and they get married and they have beautiful families, Baruch Hashem. Okay, last paragraph. Now that you have done that, you must trust in Hashem that He heard your tefillas and will fulfill your aspirations, and that He will continue to intensify your desire to learn Torah, as well as to increase your passionate longing for both pleasantness of divine purity and the sanctity of your Father. You shall ask, you shall receive. That's what He's saying. Be happy and strengthen your efforts in Avodas HaKodesh throughout the day. Remove from your heart even the concern that we spoke about earlier, because something that concerns you constantly weakens your mind. Do not have anxiety. Do not allow it to be worried. We're all in this simulation together. Just let it go. Just let it go. 100 times a day, let it go. Your body may say different, so go into breathing. Go to the gym. Take a walk. Listen to the music of the Yanuka. If you haven't checked it out, check out the music of the Yanuka on Spotify. Have some chamomile tea. Have a snack. Have some chocolate. Do something else to change what your body's reacting to. Throughout the day, remove your heart, right? Not only that, the concern itself eventually fades away, and you're left without the concern and without a goal to meet. Rather, continue to remember your goal and your purpose all day long. Just focus yourself on it. Don't become pressured or worried about it. Be like a person who's walking somewhere and regularly reminds himself of his destination so that he won't take any wrong turns along the way. And remember his mission so that he will hurry and not delay. Last one, I got to read this. It's beautiful. Learn Torah and daven out of a sense of happiness. Lamed Torah v'yispal b'simcha al shazachas liyos nar Yisrael karev la'Hashem tedayik b'chol kaychecha u'moichecha b'torasecha. So you should be a Jew that is close to Hashem. Use all your strength and mental capabilities to be precise in your learning. Delve into Torah and be enlightened by it. To be enlightened by it. Please be aware that someone who fools himself in learning and doesn't bother to be precise in his understanding, especially someone who lets his mind wander while he's in the middle of learning, is chas v'shalom belittling Hashem's honor. Another way of saying that is if you're not in the sugya, you're not going to appreciate the sugya. If you're not, like I always say this in the Bavavi Chabura, we hear all of these concepts. I listen to guys who inspire me, and we all join Chaburas that we like, and we all learn this together, and we're all inspiring each other. And then we go back to life. If you do not practice these elements in your day-to-day life and study them and keep them present and keep them focused and redo them, it's always going to be fleeting. He implies that Hashem, God forbid, isn't just worth the effort to exert the mind and delve into the words of Torah that burn the heavenly fire. Pray with so much kavanah that you're able to muster. Even if it's difficult to concentrate on the meaning of the words, at least keep your mind throughout your davening, standing before your Father who is merciful and is awesome. Eat, drink, and sleep as much as you need, and enjoy your time with your friends. Good friends who learn Torah and conduct themselves according to Hashem's ways. What a healthy outlook for a period of time that was so long ago from a person who went through such challenge and difficulty. It's not shaykh. It's not shaykh. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me. Thanks for the dialogue. I look forward to it, and we'll see you guys in Mirz Hashem.